This story is a personal narrative inspired by the experiences of viewers. Hello, my name is Sarah Mitchell. I'm 42 years old, and I live in the northern part of Chicago. The story I'm about to share began in 2018 and ended in 2019 with an experience that completely changed my life. It's not easy for me to talk about these events because they include very personal and painful moments. But perhaps what I went through might give hope to others who are facing similar struggles. I graduated from Northwestern University School of Law, and for 15 years I'd been working at one of the most prestigious law firms in Chicago. My life was perfectly organized. I was successful in my career, financially secure, and I saw myself as a strong, independent woman. I had never been interested in religion. I've always considered myself more rational, scientific-minded. My thought was always, I don't believe in things that can't be seen or touched. In the spring of 2018, I met Rajesh Sharma. Raj was a computer engineer and held a senior position at Microsoft. He was an intelligent, kind, and understanding man. Born in India, he had moved to America with his family when he was 15. During those first few months with him, I was living the happiest period of my life. But when I met Raj's family, I encountered a completely different world, especially his mother, Priya Sharma, who had devoted her entire life to an Indian guru named Sai Baba. In every room of their house, there were photographs of this man. Every morning she would pray before his image, light incense, and sing hymns in Hindi. When Raj explained his family's tradition to me, I tried to smile politely, but inside I couldn't help thinking, how can these people believe in something so irrational? Raj's mother was a very warm and affectionate woman, but when it came to Sai Baba, she was absolutely passionate. She constantly spoke to me about his miracles. Sarah, my dear, she would say, Sai Baba is not just a guru. He is an avatar, a divine incarnation of God on earth. He heals the sick, sees the future, creates gold and jewels out of nothing. When I heard these words, I had to bite my tongue. As someone trained in law with an analytical mind, I found these claims absurd, but I didn't want to hurt Priya's feelings. Raj himself was more distant on the subject. My mom is deeply devoted, Sarah, he would tell me. I grew up in this tradition too, but I don't accept everything blindly. I'm not as skeptical as you are, but I still try to keep perspective. What matters is that I respect my mother's faith. I found this approach reasonable. We got married at the end of 2018. The wedding combined both American and Indian traditions. During the Indian ceremony, the priest chanted prayers in Sanskrit. We walked around the sacred fire and performed various rituals. For me, those moments felt exotic and interesting, but they held no spiritual meaning. I only saw them as folklore. The first months of our marriage were wonderful. Raj was a perfect husband, understanding, supportive, and romantic. We bought a lovely apartment in Lincoln Park. Everything was going just as we had planned. At the beginning of 2019, I became pregnant, and we were overjoyed. Priya was thrilled, constantly saying, Sai Baba is blessing you with this gift. I would just smile and reply, yes, Mom, while secretly thinking, this is simply a natural process. But in February 2019, my life began to fall apart. The first blow came from my job. The law firm where I had worked day and night for 15 years, where I had reached the peak of my career, suddenly announced a round of layoffs. Without warning, I was let go. They claimed it was for economic reasons, but I believed it was personal. Maybe it was because of my pregnancy. The thought consumed me. The job search was far harder than I had imagined. I applied to dozens of firms in Chicago, but rejection after rejection kept coming. The responses were always polite but vague. You're overqualified, or we don't have an opening at the moment. In reality, no one wanted to hire a pregnant lawyer. My confidence was crumbling. In March, another blow came. My father, Jim, who lived in Pennsylvania, suffered a sudden heart attack at work. When he was rushed to the hospital, the doctors said his condition was critical and that he needed triple bypass surgery. My mother, Barbara, was in a panic. She cried constantly on the phone, begging me, Sarah, your father's in terrible shape. Please come right away. At that time, the stress of unemployment, the exhaustion of pregnancy, and the fear for my father's health all collided. I felt my strength slipping away. Raj tried to be supportive, but I was growing increasingly isolated. Priya kept saying, "Pray to Sai Baba, my dear. He will take care of everything." Her words drove me crazy. Inside, I would scream, "If your Baba is really that powerful, why are all these terrible things happening to me?" Then, in mid-April, came the biggest blow of all. During a routine checkup, the doctor looked at me with a grave expression. "Sarah, I'm sorry, but I can't hear the baby's heartbeat. We need to do a detailed ultrasound." I will never forget that moment. It was as if the world collapsed on me. The ultrasound confirmed my worst fear. I had lost my baby at 12 weeks. After the procedure, when I returned home, I was completely shattered. I couldn't get out of bed for days. Raj didn't know what to do. He hovered around me constantly, afraid even to touch me. Priya was with us most of the time. She cooked special Indian meals for me, brushed and braided my hair, held my hand, and sang Hindi lullabies. She was tender and caring, but her constant words, "Pray to Sai Baba, he will heal you," drove me to the edge. One day I couldn't take it anymore and I snapped at her. "Priya, if your Sai Baba is really that powerful and merciful, then why did he take my baby? Why did I lose my job? Why is my father fighting for his life in the hospital? Where is he now?" Priya looked at me with sad eyes and said softly, "Sarah, my dear, sometimes the greatest blessings come after the greatest hardships. You don't understand it yet, but he is preparing you for something bigger. Be patient." Her words made me even angrier. Preparing me? Preparing me for what? How much more pain do I have to endure? "Enough with this nonsense," I shouted and stormed out of the room. In May, my father came out of surgery, but his recovery was painfully slow. Every week I was traveling back and forth to Pennsylvania. Those trips were exhausting me physically and emotionally. At the same time, I was trying to keep up my job search, but because of my lack of motivation, I was failing at interviews. Raj tried to support me as much as he could, but I was becoming more withdrawn and irritable. I started huge fights over small things. "Why didn't you do the dishes?" Or, "Why didn't you get low-fat milk from the store?" We would argue for hours over absurd topics. The truth was, my real anger was at life itself, at fate, maybe even at the invisible power Priya kept talking about. In June, I started taking antidepressants. The doctor told me, "This is temporary, Sarah, a chemical imbalance. The medication will help." But the pills made me feel like a zombie. Not really happy, not really sad, just empty and meaningless. In July, my father was hospitalized again. This time, he had contracted an infection and his condition became even more serious. My mother called me crying. "Sarah, your father is very bad." I think this time, her voice trailed off. That night, I couldn't sleep at all. I sat by the window until morning, staring outside, asking myself over and over, why? Why always me? By August, I had reached my breaking point. I told Raj, I can't do this anymore. This marriage, this life, it's killing me. Maybe we should separate. Raj was shocked. "Sarah, please. I know this is a hard time, but we can get through it together. I love you so much," he said, tears in his eyes. That night we had a terrible fight. I poured all my anger out on him. "You and your family keep talking about that guru of yours. If he's really out there, why am I suffering? Why isn't he helping me?" Raj looked helpless. "I don't know, Sarah, but please don't give up. I don't want to lose you," he said. The next morning, I packed my things and moved into my mother's house. Raj called 10 times a day, but I wouldn't answer. Priya also called occasionally, crying over the phone. "Sarah, my dear, please come back. Raj is so unhappy without you." For 2 weeks, I stayed with my mother in Philadelphia. My father was slowly recovering during that time, though he was still weak. My mom and I had long conversations. "Sarah," she said, "I know you're going through an incredibly hard time. When I was your age, I lost my father too. Life sometimes pushes you all the way down just so you can learn how to swim again." "But Mom," I whispered, "I don't know how to swim anymore. I've lost everything." "No, sweetheart," she replied gently. "You haven't lost Raj yet. He loves you so much, and you are a strong woman. You've only forgotten that for a while." On the night of October 15th, 2019, while I was asleep in my childhood home in Pennsylvania, I had the most vivid dream of my life. It felt so real that when I woke up, I couldn't tell whether it had been a dream or reality. In the dream, I found myself in a cold, barren desert. Everything around me was pitch black, not a single light anywhere. I was exhausted and freezing. I walked for hours, yet I never seemed to arrive anywhere. My feet were bleeding, my lips were cracked. Finally, when I could no longer take another step, I collapsed to my knees. "Enough!" I screamed into the empty desert. "I can't do this anymore. What do you want from me? You took my job, you took my baby, you made my father sick, you destroyed my marriage. What more do you want?" My voice echoed into the darkness and faded. In that moment, I completely surrendered. "I give up," I whispered. "I won't fight anymore. Let whatever is meant to happen, happen." Just then, in the distance, I saw a tiny flicker of light. At first, I thought it was a star, but slowly it grew larger, moving toward me. As it came closer, I began to see a glowing orange-red aura. Then, out of the light, a silhouette emerged. An old man was walking toward me. He wore a long robe of deep orange, his feet were bare, and his hair was a thick, curly afro. But what struck me most was the serenity on his face. The moment I saw him, all my fear disappeared. "Who are you?" I asked. With a soft, melodious voice, he said, "I came because you called me, my child. You called me, and here I am." "I didn't call anyone," I said, stunned. He smiled gently. "You did. Just now you said, 'I give up.' In that moment, you called me. I've always been here, but you couldn't see me because you kept trying to solve everything with your own strength." He reached out his hand. The moment I took it, I felt something like electricity surge through my body. All my pain, all my anger, all my despair seemed to be drawn out of me. I felt so light, as if I were floating in the air. "You still haven't told me who you are," I whispered. "I have many names, but you know me already. Your husband's mother has been telling you about me." In that instant, I understood. You're Sai Baba? Names don't matter, my child. What matters is this: you are no longer alone. He pulled out a small, golden, glowing sphere from his robe. "This is for you," he said, placing it in my hand. The sphere was warm and shining. "What is it?" I asked. "It is your new beginning. But remember, pain is also a teacher. You are a very strong soul, Sarah. You had only forgotten. Everything you've gone through has prepared you for this moment. Now you will discover your true strength." But why did I have to suffer so much? Because sometimes people must be completely broken so they can be reborn, stronger than before. You are the old Sarah. Now the new Sarah will be born. He placed his hand on my head, and in that moment, I felt an indescribable peace, as if the missing piece I had searched for all my life had finally been found. "Now go," he said. "There are people waiting for you. And remember, I am always with you. You are no longer alone." At that moment, I woke up. My pillow was soaked with tears, but for the first time in months, they weren't tears of pain. I felt a peace I hadn't known in so long. I could still feel the warmth of that golden sphere in my hand. The next morning, over breakfast, I told my mother about the dream. She looked at me in surprise. "Sarah, this is so strange. You never believed in things like this." "I don't know either, Mom, but it was so real. And for the first time, I feel truly at peace." That same day, I called Raj. "I want to come home," I told him. "Really?" His voice trembled with joy. "Sarah, I've missed you so much." "I've missed you too, Raj." The next day, I returned to Chicago. Raj and Priya were waiting for me at the airport. The moment Priya saw me, she burst into tears. "Sarah, my dear, I've missed you so much." When we got home, I told them the dream in detail. Priya's eyes widened in astonishment. "Sarah," she said with excitement, "the man you described is definitely Sai Baba. And the golden sphere he gave you, he often created sacred ash and objects, manifestations of divine blessings. This is a great gift." "But Priya, I still don't fully believe in all of this," I admitted. She smiled and took my hand. "That doesn't matter, my dear. He believes in you, and that is enough." That evening, I looked up pictures of Sai Baba on Google. I was stunned. The man in my dream was exactly the same. those thick curly hair, that serene expression, the flowing orange robe. From that day onward, my life began to change little by little. First, my relationship with Raj grew deeper and more meaningful. We no longer argued about small things. We understood each other better. Then, in November, something unexpected happened. I received a wonderful job offer. A small but prestigious law firm wanted me as a partner. The salary was a little less than before, but the working conditions were far more humane. In December, my father fully recovered and returned home. The doctors said, "This is nothing short of a miracle." In January, I learned that I was pregnant again. This time, I wasn't afraid, because I had finally accepted that not everything was within my control, and that this was okay. Priya gave me books about Sai Baba. Sometimes I read them, sometimes I don't. I still don't believe in everything, but I'm no longer completely closed off either. What truly matters is the peace and strength that dream gave me. Looking back now, I realize that I truly grew during that darkest period of my life. Through suffering, I became more empathetic, more patient, and more humble. I still don't know how to explain what I experienced. Maybe it was coincidence, maybe a trick of my subconscious, or maybe it really was a metaphysical encounter. But none of that changes the result. That dream saved me. Now I'm 7 months pregnant, and I'm genuinely happy. There are still challenges in my life, but I trust my ability to face them. Sometimes the greatest miracles happen in the darkest moments, and sometimes, in order to be saved, you first have to surrender completely.